Hi, Essence here, and today we are going to talk about how to set up your practice for the 40-day abundance journey. And the majority of it is based on this book, The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. And he calls it a 40-day prosperity plan. Ever since I started doing it, and I had a Facebook group around it, I called it a 40-day abundance journey. I just like that. That resonates for me because that's actually one of the things I'm really working to amplify is the energy of abundance. Okay, so whatever you might call it is pretty much the same thing. And I also like to make mine feel more of like a ritual, especially day one. So I'll tell you how I kind of woo mine up a little bit. Those of you who know me, I got to add a little bit of woo to it. All right. So what I'm going to do today is just give you an overview of how the 40-day plan works. If you want to buy the book, you can get even just the Kindle version. It's like $3 or $4, or you can order the hard copy. But I am also going to give you everything that you need to do the 40-day plan. So if you don't want to buy the book, or you're like me, the first one or two times, like I had the book, but I still didn't read it, I just kind of did the plan. So I will supply you with everything that you need. Also, throughout this 40 days, I will give updates basically on like what I'm learning, how I'm feeling, and yeah, that's about it. So I want to show up like 1 to 2 times a week to share again what I'm learning, what I'm experiencing. Okay, so I want to just start off with right in the beginning of the book. He says, since the beginning of the civilized world, enlightened ones have taught that prosperity is a part of the natural process of life, that lavish abundance is the unquestionable nature of each individual. And through the centuries, countless men and women accepted this truth, realized the law of infinite plenty within, and moved above the illusion of scarcity into the reality of unlimited wealth. They proved for themselves that the energy of abundance is constantly radiating from the source within and flowing out to appear as money and financial well-being. So this entire book and the plan is bringing us back to the remembrance of that God and money and abundance, everything is inside of us. Why? Because God is love, God is abundance, God is all sufficiency, meaning all there is, all that we want, God is. And you and me are one with God. So if God is all these things, then that means you are all these things as well. God lives and dwells within, so your abundance lives within. If God is love, your love lives within. If God is joy and happiness and all the things, all the source of all those things are in you, not out there. But that's not what we're taught and how we're raised. We're raised to look and seek out there for the happiness, for the money, for the abundance, for the love, when that source of it all is in here. And it's basically saying, and when you begin to connect with the source, then that is when it out pictures itself in your reality, means it manifests into the material world where you can see it, touch it, feel it, and experience it. But it starts with you recognizing that it is already in here, that you are not lacking anything. You may not be able to see it in the visible world, but you have it because it's in here. And when you focus on the knowingness that it's in here, which is the focusing on the knowingness is like having that consciousness of knowing that all things are already within me, when you focus on that consciousness, that knowingness, then it shows up in the outer reality. And so this book, so for 40 days, you're going to contemplate and meditate on statements that just drive this home, that just you keep in. He says it in different ways in each statement, but it's basically all saying the same thing to, again, really help us to ground into it. And so there's a part in the book where it says, here is a program for realizing abundant prosperity in your life and affairs. It takes 40 days for consciousness to realize a truth. A break during the 40-day period releases the energy being built up around the idea. Therefore, there must be a definite commitment to faithfully follow this program each day for 40 days. And if you miss even one day, to start over again and continue till you make it through the entire 40 days. I am more like, I give myself grace. If I go past 2 days, then I start over. But generally, it's just like when I've done this over the years, it's like maybe I miss one day for whatever reason. Now I have my alarm set in my phone to go off in the morning when I'm already doing my practice, just as a reminder. And then in the evening, I set it to where I'm already in the bed. So that way, if I have forgotten and that alarm goes off while I'm in the bed, not sleep, but just like in the bed, I will go ahead and grab my journal and just go ahead and do it. But so you get to create your own rules. It doesn't have to be black and white, but I do agree about the creating that container of energy. And if you've already gone 4 or 5 days, you've basically, you have gone outside of that bubble you were creating by doing this each day. Okay, so I'm going to go through the steps and what you're going to do every day. And then I'm going to close out with the main reason why I'm doing this and why most people will probably feel drawn to this book to do this. Okay. So I'm going to lay out the way he says to do it, and then I'll tell you how I'm going to do it in case you want to adopt any of those. Okay. So the first thing that you have to do, and I will lay this out either in a slide at the end or down in the description area. But the first thing you're going to do is you set a date. So number one is you set a date for when you are going to do it, and then you count out the 40 days. So you can do, I Google like date calculator, and I've already done that. So today is September 19th, 2021. I don't know when you might be watching this. And I am going to start on September 20th. So 40 days with the calculator app, it's going to be October 30th is the end date. Okay, so that's the first thing you do, calculate out your 40 days. And then on the first day of the program, there's this long statement in the book that you are to write out on day one. Okay, I'm just gonna read like the first paragraph. This day, and you write the date, I cease believing in visible money as my supply and my support, and I view the world of effect as it truly is, simply an outpicturing of my former beliefs. Okay, that's just like the first paragraph, and then it goes on a little bit more. So you're gonna write that whole statement out. This is like your declaration. And some people I know read that every day before they do their meditation. That is up to you. In the book, it only says to do it for day one. Okay. Then there are 10 statements of principle. That's what he calls them. These are like the abundance statements. You're going to read one statement every day. So if there are 10, that means you're going to cycle through them 4 times. So basically, when you get to day 11, you're going to read day 1 again. On day 12, you're going to read day 2 again, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you're going to just cycle through. When you are reading the so you're going to read the statement out loud, And then you are going to like meditate on the statement, because they're kind of written in like an old timey language. I don't know why, because I think this book might have been written in the 80s, but the language is kind of like you really have to sit there and think on it and like let it filter through your consciousness to so I'm sorry, for you to discern what it means for you. Okay, so you're gonna read it, and then some of them, there might be like 3 lines within the statement, and so you might just want to meditate and contemplate each statement and then kind of put it together. And let me just give you an example. Let me see. Okay, so one of them is the first one. God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. So that's basically 2 sentences in one. First, God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich omnipresence of the universe, period. So then I would just sit with that first statement from the first word to the period. I would just sit with that and like contemplate what that means to me, and then go into the next statement and just keep reading and sit with this. And he's basically saying to do it for 15 minutes. And so what I typically do is I'll just, again, just sit and kind of breathe and just kind of read, and just like I'm just like letting it in, almost like I'm breathing in these words. And then after that is when you will, so after your 15 minutes, you're gonna then write in your journal basically of what that statement means to you, or what thoughts might have popped up. Anything that came up within those 15 minutes, you're gonna journal about them, okay? And then, okay. And then the other thing that he suggests to do is basically like, since you've already received the all sufficiency, meaning because the source is within, everything you have, all the abundance you are desiring is already here. You already have it. It's just going to be, a matter of time before you actually see it. He's saying to basically go ahead and start sharing, start giving, start tithing, if you will, to basically show the universe that you are trusting. You already know that you have it. So this could mean you are out getting coffee and you see somebody scrambling to pay their bill, and you just say, you know what, I got that coffee and muffin for you. Or you can intentionally go and donate to a cause that you enjoy. But just throughout these 40 days, when that opportunity, and sometimes you will don't just wait for opportunities to pop up, but also you can intentionally decide, like I've already decided that one of the things I'm going to donate to is to like a Black college fund. So I don't exactly know which one yet, but as I was thinking over this, I'm like, okay, that's going to be one of my donations. And I think I want to do something each week. And then I'll just kind of decide where I'm going to, plant my money seed at. And one of the things he says in the book is to don't do it like mechanically, right? Do it from this place of being abundant. And if you had all the abundance you ever could want, like, how would you feel giving to that cause, giving to that person? You would probably, there might be a smile to your face. You might feel that sense of abundance. So then do that when you are actually giving to that charity, or you are buying that person's coffee. Do it from that place of love and abundance in your heart. Okay, so those are basically his steps. Then what I do personally is I make my day one into a ritual. So that means for me, like I'm lighting my candles, I'm pulling a card, and then I set goals. So it's like, what is my intention for this 40 days? What do I want to create? How do I want to feel? So I know I will write out like a dollar amount, and then I'm writing out how I want to feel, which is to be more connected to the truth that God is the source of my abundance and God is within me. I want to say that for those of you who do not resonate with the word God, you can change this to source. You can change this to looking at it like the infinite flow of abundance, the universal flow of abundance. And you just know that that flow of abundance is in you. Like, just see it like the sun and the ray, and like that ray of light is always streaming in you. And when you are focusing your attention and knowing that all your good and the money comes from that, you being connected to that flow, that is all that it takes. Okay, so you don't have to use the word God. It could just be being connected to source, being connected to flow. And you know that when you're connected to source, connected to flow, you're able to call in more of the good into your life versus thinking it's all outside of there and getting into like needing to chase and grasp at it. And that's kind of, I feel like one of I keep having to rein myself back in because I'm trying to chase. And it's like, no, get back to, like I felt like I found this place within me where I felt settled in this truth of abundance being within me. And then somehow, basically by not focusing on these statements or just the truth and the remembrance, I got caught up back into the worldwide belief, which is that money is outside of you. Or your good that you are looking for is outside of you. Okay. So I kind of lost my train of thought when I was talking about not focusing, not to get caught up in the word God. Okay. I think I was talking about what all I'm doing. Okay. So doing my ritual, I'm writing out my goals, like my intention for doing this. And then I am going to also write out, what am I letting go of? So think about what limiting beliefs around money or what habits that you want to consciously release during this time. So for instance, I had a conversation with a client where she was saying, like, I don't like looking at my bank account because it just makes me sad. And I was like, well, what if you just consciously change that? Because when you look at the bank account and it makes you sad, you're basically saying, like, I don't have enough. When there are some people that open their account and it's in the negative, or it's like zero. The fact that you have something in there is something to be grateful for. So why not purposely, intentionally open it and just have a smile and hold that place of gratitude? So for instance, so if that's something that you do for 40 days, you can just say, I'm intentionally going to stop pouting over what's in my bank account. And I'm going to open up, my account every day and smile and say, thank you. Or if you're somebody, when you go to the, store, like sometimes let's say I'm going to the grocery store and I'm only planning to spend a certain amount, let's just say like $20, and then it's like $50, and then I'm like, I didn't want to spend this today. So my practice would be to, no matter what that amount is, whether I intended to spend it or not, like that's the amount, I have it, let's graciously pay for it with a smile. Because for instance, I was at the stores a couple of weeks ago, and there was a girl, and I think her order was less than $5, and she was scrambling. Then she was like, "Can you take that off and have them take something off so she could pay for it?" And then I just said, "I'll just add her stuff to mine." So that when I'm like doing my credit card like this, remembering there's somebody who has it so much worse, and like what you have, the fact that you have it to spend should ignite gratitude. And if it doesn't, like automatically, this is why you're setting the intention to start to change some of those habits and patterns around money and spending. Or if yours is like when somebody's trying to give you something, you're like, I don't really want it. Now the 40-day habit would be to just open your heart and receive it. So just look at what hangups you have around money or limiting beliefs, like focusing on there's not enough. Let them go. So write out what you're gonna, habits, limiting beliefs you're gonna let go. And like I'm personally gonna burn mine, but you can also tarot. Okay, that could be another part of the ritual. The other thing that I'm doing is focusing on things that are 7s and 10s. So for instance, make a list of things that make you feel abundant. So basically just start with 1 to 7 things that make you feel abundant, joyful, happy. So it could be going for walks, going to yoga, dancing, watching movies, going for a hike, going to the river, whatever things, going to lunch with your friends or Skyping with your best friend, whatever the things that bring you joy and happiness. And I would say probably if you rated it 0, like 0 is I hate it, don't like to do it. And then 10 is it brings me so much joy and happiness. Whatever falls at a 7 or 10, like start to incorporate some of these things throughout the week. Don't have to do them daily, but like for me, one of the things I'm gonna like make sure I go to the river once a week. I'm going to paint once a week. So these are just little things I'm incorporating, and I'm also gonna do laughter yoga, which I'm gonna try to do multiple times a week. I'm certifying in it, and I want to bring more laughter. And then I'm also going to make some videos to like share the laughter, because that feels like that would be like an 8 or a 9 for me. So when you think about being abundant or wanting more happiness and joy in your life, we have to actively do the things or think the thoughts or cultivate the feelings that are in alignment to that, and not just expect for it to come. So you want to create moments where you're in joy. So if Skyping with your best friend for an hour a week and you haven't been making time for that, if that's something that brings you joy, then put it on the calendar, right? So start calendaring these things in to put yourself in that state of abundance during these 40 days. Okay. One last thing I said I wanted to talk about, because this is the main reason why some of us are going to want to do this, and this is the main idea behind the book. Money is an effect, and when you concentrate on the effect, you are forgetting the cause. And when you forget the cause, the effect begins to diminish. When you focus your attention on getting money, you are actually shutting off your supply. You must begin this very moment to cease believing that money is your substance, your supply, your support, your security, your safety. Money is not, but God is. Okay? So money is an effect. So it's something that is out here that is an effect created from a cause, basically like from your thoughts, from your energy, but it's out here. Your thoughts, your energy, your connection to source, your connection to God and universal flow. However, that is what creates the effect. Many of us, we are so focused on the effect, focused on this instead of being focused here. And so basically it's saying when you're so hyper focused on getting the dollar, getting the money, you're forgetting about the source. And then it's like it gets harder and harder, or you love the money less and less because you are shutting off the source. Another way I like to see it is like if you started off with this apple tree and you're constantly pouring into the roots and making sure the soil is good and you're watering it, and then all the apples start to come and you got all these apples and eating the apples, and then all of a sudden you start just watering the branches and trying to tend to the branches, and then it's like, where's the apples? I don't have as much apples this season as normal. Well, you stopped focusing on the source, which is the soil, and the roots are then what creates the effect, the apple itself. Okay. So again, this book brings us from focusing on money to focusing here on your connection with source, and that knowing that the money is here So it brings us back to here. And the more you can stay in that place, then the more your energy is abundant, your consciousness is abundant. And so of course, there's no choice but for abundance to show up. So it talks about not focusing on any person, place, or thing as being your source. So your job is not your source, the business is not the source, the client is not the source. They're just merely channels for money to flow through. If the job or the business was the source, then you would never ever have another dollar if that source, if that channel was to go away. So if I believed me working at Wells Fargo was the source because I go there 40 hours a week and they give me that paycheck, that is the source, then that would mean if I ever stopped working at Wells Fargo, then I would never have another dollar again. But that's not true because the source is in me. And if I stopped working at Wells Fargo, I could then go work at SunTrust Bank and then the money would just start filtering through that channel. Or I could start a jewelry business and the money would filter through that channel. Or I could be a consultant and I help people with their credit and then the money would come through that client. But the source is here, and then out in the world are all these different channels for the money to flow through. But the channel is not the source, but we tend to focus on the channel. Like, I can't lose this job, or I can't lose this client, or I gotta get a client, when it should be, oh, I gotta get connected to source. I gotta get connected to the universal flow. Let me go meditate. Let me go calm down. Let me come get in my body. Let me see what my limiting beliefs are and work on my thoughts and my energy. That's where we're coming back to. All right, so again, I will have everything in the slides or in the description. I'll just figure that out afterwards. And other than that, I'll be showing up 1 to 2 times a week to just kind of share my journey. And I think after this 40 days, I'm going to do it live inside of a Facebook group just to cultivate that community and build up the energy around it so we can all support each other. All right, well, I am here. Let me know if you have any questions, and don't be a stranger. I'd love to hear what you're creating and experiencing. So you can message me here on YouTube. I don't know. Or you can go to the contact page on my website, essenceturner.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram at Beautiful Happy Goddess. Talk to you later.